You don't need an emergency fund in retirement. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to actually explain why I think you should have a sleep number instead. Now, my name is Ari. I'm a certified financial planner. This is all I love doing, helping people retire early. And this is a common mistake I see all the time that you can avoid really easily. And in the next 10 minutes, you hopefully will never have to worry about this ever again. So let me ask you very simply, what is the point of an emergency fund? Well, the answer is to protect against emergencies. And the reason that this even exists is for people before they retire. Let me explain. When you have an emergency, what you want to make sure you're not doing is having so much money locked up so that when your tire breaks, gets flat. I'm not a great, mechanic if you can't tell. When your tire goes flat because you run over a nail, you don't want all your money locked up in a 401k where you don't have the ability to go pay for it easily. You don't want to have to go sell stocks or have to go ask your aunt for money. So because of that, we like to keep funds in an emergency fund. Many of you go, yep, I already do this. I've got $50,000 in my checking account at all times. Great. That's very different from what I'm talking about today. Let me explain further. So an emergency fund is helpful so that if, once again, your car, you run over something, you have money, you can call AAA and you're good. The truth is you don't need this in retirement to the same degree, and here's why. In retirement, you're not working your traditional W-2 job. In fact, you're working no job. You're retired. So you don't necessarily need to worry because you have money that you're pulling from every single month. If you were to say keep $50,000 in your checking account at all times, that's money that technically is nice. It can feel nice in the short term to have on hand, but you don't really need it. It's not a need, it's a want. We're going to talk about wants in just a second. That's what I call your sleep number, because everyone should have a sleep number. I have a sleep number. I like having $25,000 at all times in my checking account. Do I need that? Nope. I would be smarter on paper to invest that to outpace inflation, but I don't care. I sleep better having that amount there. So if I want to take a trip or help someone out, I have the means to do so. I don't have to go sell stocks. The real value of an emergency fund is having money on hand so you don't have to go sell stocks or tap into retirement money and pay crazy taxes and penalties when you're in your younger years while you're working. It's very different when you're in retirement. In retirement, the way you're creating income is you're pulling it every single month or quarterly or annually, however you like to pull from your accounts, your 401k, your IRA, your Roth IRA, your brokerage account. When you're pulling money from these accounts, you can be really strategic. And the benefit is if there is an emergency, you can pull from it, and likely it's not penalty free, assuming you're over 59 and a half or 55 if you're using the rule of 55 with your 401k. So because of this, having an emergency fund is not a bad thing, but it might be excessive because in retirement, once again, you can always go into Schwab or Vanguard or Fidelity, pull more money easily. But what you don't want to do, and this is the big mistake, is you don't want to have nothing on hand that causes a bunch of what I call head trash. Let me explain. I've had couples who we work with who share, I understand I should outpace inflation and I don't want too much cash on hand because I know it's just losing out over the long term. But what happens is when markets are down, these clients will go, I'm not going to travel right now because I don't want to have to sell at a loss and really lock in a permanent loss of purchasing power. And so these are clients that are not traveling who have saved and invested really well, and they're in a comfortable position to travel. So what I often recommend is the following 5-step framework. Number 1, your monthly expenses. Know what those are, and then ask yourself, am I going to sleep better at night by always having a certain amount in cash at all times, no matter what? For myself, it's $25,000. Now, when you're working, people say have 3 months or 6 months or 12 months of cash on the side. So if you were to lose your job or if you want to pursue another career, whatever it is, you don't have to go sell assets that are locked up in your retirement funds and pay crazy penalties, but that's not the case when you're retired. So you don't need as much locked up. So number 1 is know your monthly expenses, and you could say have 3 months worth if you want. If you're in retirement and you spend $8,000 a month, you want to have $24,000 as your sleep number, totally cool. But number 2 is travel. I like when my clients keep their travel money for the year in a high yield savings account. I don't want them worrying about the market. Market does good, market does bad. That should not impact whether or not they get to travel. So have your travel fund set aside. That's pro tip number 2. Number 3 is have your 1 to 3 year expenses also in what I call war chest investments. These are things like treasury bonds or T-bills or inflation protected securities or short-term bonds or muni bonds. Muni, I always try to joke around with my clients. Muni sounds like money. Muni bonds, so municipal bonds. These are generally investments that aren't as volatile, so you still want some growth, but you're not asking for as much growth. Number 4, ask yourself, how dynamic do you want to be? For example, we have a few clients that go, Ari, I am a robot in this scenario. Just tell me, what's the financial answer? How much should I have in cash and how much should I not? And I'll tell it to them, and then I'll go, but you're not a robot, you're a human. And I can tell if you only have $10,000 of cash on hand, you're going to donate way less to charities. And you told me one of your primary goals was to donate to charities. So we don't want to make such a great financial on paper decision that you don't go live a great life, because we always say the sign of a good financial plan is a life well lived. Now, the 5th pro tip, that checklist, it's your sleep number. It's not scientific. Your neighbor's going to have a different answer. You might find your spouse has a different answer. Your sleep number is a gut check. Yes, use a framework. Have 3 months of expenses on hand. I mean, that's a general framework while you're working. But I'll be honest with you. I have clients that have 0. They go, if I need money, I go to my Schwab account or Vanguard, or I contact my advisor and they send me more money. And there's always enough safe investments. Now, I'm putting safe in quotes here. I've got to be very careful here. What does safe mean? Well, for some people, safe can seem like having cash, but long term, that can be very risky because it does not outpace inflation, which therefore erodes the purchasing power of those dollars. Now, on the flip side, some people view stocks as safe because they outpace inflation historically over the long term, but in the short term, they actually can be very risky because they're way more volatile. So we have to ask ourselves, what does safe mean? Well, for some people, safe is I'm just sleeping better at night. Here's my best example. When you are paying off that mortgage and you finally get it paid off, many of you have been there or you are there. Well, the truth is, if that's where you are right now, or you have loved the thought of having your mortgage paid off, you might just sleep better. Might not be the greatest financial move. Pretend your interest rate is 4%. If it's 4% and historically the market, let's say, does 8% on average as an investor, just taking a sample here, the financial answer would be to pay the minimum to your mortgage every month and invest the rest. Because if you can get 8%, that's better than 4%. But guess what? My clients always sleep better paying off that mortgage. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like a weight off my shoulders. One less thing to worry about, one less expense. I feel so much better. So don't always have the finances drive the answer. Ask yourself, what are you going to feel more comfortable with? Now I'm going to show you real quick a client case so that you can see how I actually communicate this with clients in a real world example. But before I do, let me know in the comments, how much cash do you plan on keeping? Is it a percentage of your portfolio? Do you try to keep 5%? Do you just say I have 20K in cash at all times? Like, tell me, what is your preferred strategy so we can all learn from each other. Now check this out on my screen. Real couple here. You can see 55 and 54 years old changing their name for security, of course. And you can see they have $225,000. That's in their checking account. I don't love that. I want that in a high yield savings account at least. But you can see they also have 1.4 million of other investments. They own their home, which is worth $623,000. Now, I'm not going to go over their entire financial plan, but what's really cool about this software is under the dashboard, you can see there's one specific tab called liquidity. And under this liquidity tab, you can actually create what you want your emergency fund or sleep number to be. So you can see here their actual liquidity, $225,000. That's how much they have that's just totally liquid. Now the truth is they also have their other investments, 401ks, Roth IRAs, but they'd have to pay taxes or penalties to access that money. So you can see they have a surplus today of $192,000 because they are targeting a $32,000. That's what they told me initially they wanted as their sleep number. So when they have $225,000, I said, why is that? And they said, well, we just haven't known what to do with it. And we don't know if it's the right time to invest. And then they start working with us. But in this case, you can see you can propose different amounts. You can have 3 months of expenses. You can have 6 months of expenses. You can use a tool like this to start to go, okay, my target is 65,000 and I still have 225,000. So that means that's 160,000 that I'm going to go and deploy and put that into some other investment. So you can see the profile tab breaks it down in different ways. They have 225,000 in their checking account, but you can go ahead and add accounts however you see fit. You can add another bank account. You can say this is a savings or CD or money market or just cash. You can get really, really tactical here and add different investments. And you can put every single type of investment in here. We're talking Roth, SEP IRAs, pensions, annuities, anything can pretty much go in here. So you can get really tactical with this. If you want access to this software, as always, it is in the description of this video. This is called the Early Retirement Academy. So if you check in here, you can see in the description below, you want to run your own what-if scenarios across your own financial planning strategies. That is what that is designed for. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you are interested in working with Root for holistic planning services, this is what we love to do. I encourage you to go to our website, rootfinancial.com. In the upper right, you'll see a little button that says see if you're a fit. If you click on that, you'll be prompted to answer just a few questions, and we might be talking to you very soon. Thank you, guys.